Welcome to KTnarnia, where I vlog from the middle of nowhere, Alabama. Hey, y'all!
This is Castor. He hasn't been feeling well, so I brought him outside to enjoy some fresh air. My dad came over earlier and he immediately took him outside. And it turned out to be a really great little thing for him, so I'm doing it now. Seems to have made him feel pretty happy. Castor's been sick for a few days. If you can't tell, he's very underweight, so they had to implant some water packets in order to keep him hydrated, and he gets 2 different types of medication every 6 to 8 hours. So they're not sure what's wrong with him because he tested negative for any parasites or bacteria. So what's the matter? Why are you so sick? What's the matter with you? It's like he's out in this great big field. Tons of room to run around and play, and this is where he'd rather be.
Here's Castor at the shelter, right before I brought him home with me. As you can see, he's the most adorable and amazing kitten on the planet. He's gonna get my camera. He just knows it. He'll reach his little paw through there, and he's sure he'll get it.
Listen to this meow.
Get that camera. Oh, he was such a sweet kitty and hilarious and just like a monkey, all bouncy and strong. And watch this. Woo! That is why I wanted to bring this cat home with me, because he's awesome in every way. But that being said, the shelter needed to neuter him, vaccinate him, and give him a microchip before he came home with me. And so when I did bring him home, he refused to eat. He wouldn't have canned food, he wouldn't have kitten's milk specifically designed for kittens. He wouldn't have any of the soft, raw meat food. You can see on the saucer to the left, there's a mug of water, a saucer of kitten's milk, and 2 different kinds of canned cat food there. Also, his fur looks the way it does because I give him medication, and the medications are made up of a gel and a paste, and oftentimes he doesn't want to take the meds, so he moves around a lot, squirms around a whole lot, and it gets stuck in his fur. So I've had to use home remedies, which consist of using olive oil and dish soap to get that stuff out of his whiskers and fur. It's actually really tough to do. And this clip is really difficult for me to watch because he's suffering so much. But believe it or not, I filmed this a couple of days ago, and today and yesterday were a lot harder than this. So this is why it gets caught in his fur. He really doesn't want to consume anything.
That was unsuccessful.
So I do at least try to clean him off with an unscented, toxin-free baby wipe. It doesn't do the best job, but it does, better than it would without it. So these days, Castor pretty much just sits. He just kind of perches and stares at the wall, and sometimes he'll waddle over to my lap and just go to sleep.
I thought I'd bring Castor outside to see if that would make him feel a little bit better, because it's not raining today. It's a pretty sunny, nice, breezy, kind of cool though day, so that's why we're in the sun. And I'm surprised he's walking around, but this was a good idea. I brought some food out here just in case he'll eat it, but I don't think he will.
I feel really bad for taking him outside today. What ended up happening after this was worse than ever. Being outside exhausted him to the point where he couldn't move, much less hold his head up. I was able to give him medication though. He was too weak to protest. Petting him is a lot like running your fingers down a piano. His ribs and his spine are very pronounced because he is so underweight. This is his older sister. She is a new kitten for me. She came home the day before he did, but she came from a different shelter, a much nicer place, and she's super healthy. She just watches over him. She grooms him, and when he's curled up in my lap, barely moving, she curls up with us and just keeps her eyes on him. She's a really good big sister. Fortunately, there is a vet in town that is going to come pick Castor up tomorrow and run a bunch of tests there at the animal hospital, and I will do my very best to keep you guys updated. Please keep Castor in your thoughts, and also, sorry this was such a sad vlog, but thanks so much for watching, and as always, have yourselves a pleasant morning, day, afternoon, evening, night, forever. Goodbye.
Hey guys, Castor passed away at 8:30 in the morning the following morning. That was Friday, November 20th, 2015. He died in my lap, in the car, on the way to the animal hospital. Instead of waiting for the vet to come pick him up at noon, I stayed awake all night with him, and my wonderful friend Jennifer drove down an hour and a half from Auburn just to scoop us up and take us to the clinic in time for them to open. But I was with him every second the night before as his health declined. First, he couldn't get into his litter box, and I knew he needed to get in there, so I picked him up and put him in. And he went to the bathroom, and then he needed to get out, so I helped him out, and then I had to wipe his paws down with the baby wipe. Within an hour from that, he couldn't walk at all, and he started having trouble holding up his head, and he was sleeping. He kept looking for places underneath furniture to sleep, so I knew he was sure that he was dying. And every time that he tried to turn over, if he became uncomfortable in a specific position, it was just really hard for him, and he would cry out in frustration. So I pulled him over to the couch with me, and I made up a little bed on the couch, and he laid there with me all night, on my chest or beside me, until he could no longer move at all, and all he could do was lay still and breathe. I know this is all really sad, but my vlogs can't always be sunshine and daisies, you guys. Sometimes real life happens, and things like this I need to share because he was a great cat and he needs to be remembered. And I feel like these videos going up on YouTube aren't always just for my friends and family, but sometimes they're for me, so that maybe, you know, however many years down the road I can still go back and remember that this happened. And maybe there's somebody out there who gets into a similar situation and might not completely know what to do, or just, you know, for relatability purposes, might need to know that, you know, other people have had to deal with watching a little kitten die too. And it's really hard. It's harder than you would think. Even though I didn't have him very long, it was a lot harder than I imagined it would be. And just seeing him suffer like that was, I couldn't sleep last night. I was running on no sleep, but I still couldn't sleep until about 5 in the morning. I was in the bed since 11 p.m. just having really horrible visions of everything that I'd just experienced the day before. So here are some lessons that I learned. Never adopt a pet from a shelter younger than 4 to 6 months, especially if that shelter requires that the animal be spayed or neutered prior to going home. This is because surgery is not good for the immune system, and most shelter animals have upper respiratory infections. Even if they're not showing symptoms at the time, they could already have a compromised immune system, and little kittens can't withstand that kind of ordeal. Which brings me to lesson number 2, always get a second opinion. The first vet that I took him to was the same vet that neutered him, that works directly with the shelter, and they ran tests, and supposedly he didn't have an infection, and he was just stressed out. So they gave him anti-diarrhea medication, which also included some nutrients to heal his gut, and a supplement gel to replace the nutrients he wasn't receiving from not eating. But the vet that I was taking him to as he was dying in my lap let me know that he did have an upper respiratory infection, and to go home and check out my other cat and see if she was displaying signs or symptoms of a cold. And when I got home, she was. She has mucus coming out of one eye and she's been sneezing, but that all really began yesterday. So they gave me some antibiotics to give to her twice a day, and they said that she's definitely gonna make it because she's older and she's healthier and she has antibiotics, and unfortunately Castor did not. The new vet told me that if he were to neuter a kitten that small, he would have administered antibiotics no matter what, just to be on the safe side, which I really wish had been the case for Castor, because I desperately wanted to see him grow up to be a really big kitty. Based on the video you saw of him at the shelter, don't you think he would have been the coolest little mouser in the galaxy? He was amazing through and through. But referring back to lesson number 2 about getting a second opinion, even if the first vet says that your kitten doesn't have an infection, keep it away from your other kitten or cat all the time, no matter what. I did separate their litter box, food, and water. They mostly stayed in separate rooms, but on occasion they were together, and when they were, my little female kitty would groom him and care for him, so that's how she became infected, from the close contact. And I will be missing Thanksgiving with my family because I've got to give her medication twice a day and some throughout the day, unless I can find someone local really quickly who is willing to come over here and do that while I'm gone. But I really like being here for her because she needs to be played with, and I think I would just worry a lot. I don't know, we'll see. This video is basically just to honor his little kitten memory, because even though his life was very short, it was worthy of being honored. I'm glad that he had someone to love him while he went through what he was going through. Today my dad said he went from a bad situation as a stray cat to a worse situation in the shelter, and if I hadn't brought him home, then he would have suffered alone. However, I personally feel that if I hadn't adopted him that young, they wouldn't have neutered him. So maybe he would still be alive. I have no idea. I try really hard to work out the guilt feelings, because I know a lot of the time when people die or animals die, people tend to blame themselves for a lot of things. So I'm trying really hard not to do that, but it's difficult. All right, so please keep his big sister in your thoughts. I'm sure she'll be okay, but you know, good thoughts are always a good thing anyway. Can't go wrong with them. And I'm sorry if this video brought you down. You didn't have to watch it, I warned you. The name of the video is Most Depressing Vlog on the Planet, so you're the one who wanted to be depressed. Just saying. Castor's gonna be missed. I'm glad that I could be with him during his final hours, singing him lullabies and trying to keep him comfortable. I hope you guys learned something from this though. If you decide to adopt a pet, keep those lessons in mind. Seriously. I've had so many cats in my life, never had to deal with this. The other shelters I've adopted from in the past just had me sign a piece of paper saying that I would have them spayed or neutered, and then I did at a reasonable age. But this particular shelter wouldn't let him out the door without being neutered, so bad news bears. All right. Take care, you guys. Stay healthy. Love your animals. Bye.